I have something I want to share. Just a while ago, I don't know how long ago it was, but Scott brought us a message and he said, I want to tell you what I learned from my dog. And so then Mark came along. He said, let me tell y'all, Scott was talking about what he learned from his dog. I want to tell you what I learned from a puzzle. Well, let me tell y'all what I learned from a basketball game. In March, we went to watch my great nephew play in the West Virginia State Basketball Championship game. This was touted to be one of the games of the century, or the times of there. It was an exceptional game with a formidable foe. And my niece and her husband brought shirts for us to wear and pom-poms for us to shake. And there was probably 30 or more people there wearing these shirts with his name on it. So, of course, other starters on the team had gear with their names on it as well. So Zacchaeus wasn't the only one with gear with his name on it. But just a few hours before the game, I just happened past a room where his dad was sitting, and he was on the phone. And I heard his dad saying, and I just figured he was talking to Zacchaeus. He said to him, well, when you get ready to talk to them, you want to thank your teachers, thank your coaches, and thank your parents. Because he knew that because he was a leader on the team, whether they won or lost, they were going to interview him. So that's all I heard in passing because I wasn't ear hustling, y'all. So I just walked away and I was thinking to myself, what an exceptional dad to teach his child how to speak to others and how to handle himself in tough situations. So the lesson I learned from that is that we can and we should go to our Father before we speak. Y'all all know that my favorite verse is Psalm 19:14. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight. And that's what I want. That's what I want for myself and I want for each of us, is that we go to God in prayer and that we ask him to word our mouths, ask him to season our words with grace, ask him to show us and lead us into how we should conduct ourselves in all situations and in all conversations. So, like I said, Zacchaeus was a standout and a leader of his team. So, of course, the opposing team was going to be gunning for him. And I know Tyree knows something about this because Tyree is one of the leaders on his team, and they gun for leaders. So they're going to get the short end of the stick sometime. So the opposing coach had instructed his players, and he talked about it in his interview, that he instructed his players to try to take Zacchaeus out of the game. And so they did things to try to cause Zacchaeus to foul. So Zacchaeus fouled out of the game. Now, I'll give him 2 of those fouls. But those other 3, they were suspect. I tell you, they were suspect. So the lesson I learned from that is that life will cause some fouls. Some may be from your own making, your wrong choices, or your wrong decisions. Choosing to drink and drive, there's going to be consequences. Choosing to play games, video games, watch videos, talk on the phone, goof off, or party rather than study. Consequences. Things like this may result in a struggle to stay in school, to succeed in school, or ultimately a struggle for your life. You know, down the road, you will suffer some consequences. But some fouls might not be of your making. A promising career in sports that can be cut short by an injury, childhood illnesses, natural disasters, sickness, accidents because of someone else's neglect. So regardless of the life foul, you're going to have consequences. But 1 Peter 5:8 says that your opponent, your enemy, the devil, is like a lion, seeking whoever he can devour. But what the opposing coach failed to realize that was getting Zacchaeus out of the game didn't guarantee a win for his team. A good coach is going to prepare his entire team to pick up the slack when the star is out of the game. So throughout the game, I kept yelling, play your game, play your game. So no matter what they were doing, you stick to your game. So his team was well prepared to play their game with or without the key player. And so we talked about one part of 1 Peter 5 and 8, but the beginning of 1 Peter 5 and 8 tells us that we need to be well balanced, temperate, sober of mind, be vigilant, and cautious at all times. Yep, Zacchaeus was sidelined, but his team was ready. They were vigilant. They were ready to pick up the slack. So some people would have argued with the officials, gone to the bench with a scowl on their faces and sat down on the bench and sulked, or even cried like I saw some of the opponents doing. So I was so touched, though, to see how he handled himself. He did none of those things. He threw up his hands like, what, me? And just in question. But he graciously went to the sideline, and he never sat a minute once he got to that sideline. He was enthusiastically cheering for his team, excited for their successes, and offering them advice and praise to his teammates. He jumped as high or higher than any of the other players when they won that game by 47-42. And this was over a top-seeded team. So the lesson I learned from that is when we are sidelined, we can still participate in the win. Y'all know our pastor is in Paris. He's enjoying his family today. But here at Victory, when our pastor is out sick, when he takes a much-needed vacation, we continue our excellent worship experience. We continue to praise, we continue to worship, we continue to sing. Sometimes we bring out the men just to sing by themselves. But we are enthusiastic about serving and praising our God. So, in spite of that formidable foe, the top seed opposing team, the fouls and the obstacles, and even though that referee should be neutral, there were a few bad calls. Or should I say questionable calls? Maybe I'll just say that. And a few times, even Mark cried out, come on, ref, which is unusual for him. But Zacchaeus' team persevered, and they won the game. And they had a huge crowd cheering them on, like that great cloud of witnesses the Bible tells us about. So the lesson I learned from that is that the battle isn't always given to the swift or the strong or the formidable foe. The enemy, who may sometimes be dressed up as a friend, like that neutral referee, or a loved one, but they'll often try to get you to go along with what they're doing, where they're going, what's up tonight, or they'll try to call the shots in your life. But if you've been taught the ways of the Lord, just follow Aunt Sharon's advice and play your game. Don't be tossed around by whatever comes or whatever goes. Don't be tossed by the trends. Don't be tossed by what peers are doing, whether you're young or old. Some old folks want to do what their peers are doing too. Brother Gary just got his house remodeled. I'm going to get mine remodeled. Don't be tossed about those things. Don't go with the flow. What others feel is appropriate for their game may not be appropriate for your game. What they're doing in their season might not be for your season. Ephesians 4:14 says, we will not be tossed about like a ship that the waves carry one way and then another. We'll not be influenced by every new teaching we hear from men who are trying to fool us. Those men make plans and try any kind of trick to fool people into following the wrong path. But guess what? No matter what they're saying, I read the end of the book, and despite the enemy's best efforts during the game, those in Christ can proclaim, we win. Amen? We win.